Okay. So hello, everyone. I'm Molly Letterman, part of the Michigan OER Network Steering Committee. And I have a few housekeeping items to remind you of. We're going to save all of our questions to the end, but feel free to put them in the chat as we go. I'll be watching them as the moderator, and we'll come back to them at the end. Please keep your microphone on mute throughout the presentation. Closed captioning is available, so make sure to access that if you need to throughout the session. And we are recording. So now I'd like to introduce Regina Gahn, and she'll be presenting Student Voices Lessons from the OER Feedback Surveys. So over to Regina.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second session, or no, first session for the afternoon. I just will have to do some screen sharing here. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully you're all able to see this. My name is Regina again, and I am the OER and Student Success Librarian at Michigan State University. And today I am going to talk about our OER program and our OER feedback survey that we administer to our students. But before I start, I would just like to do a land acknowledgement while we meet today on the virtual platform. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands that we each call home and the indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. In offering this land acknowledgement, I hope we can take action to support our indigenous communities and organizations by affirming indigenous sovereignty, history, and experiences. So just want to give you a brief overview of my work at MSU. So in my capacity as OER librarian, I lead the OER program, including the OER award program. We also have a robust OER publishing platform through Pressbooks, and do a lot of professional development to our faculty, to our librarians on topics, open education. And for the third year in a row now, I am also facilitating the open education and open pedagogy learning community. Yeah, so the MSU Libraries OER program was officially launched in fall 2019. So this is a new position, and I started at MSU summer of 2019. So seems like a long time ago. My job is full-time OER and student success librarian. So really have that capacity to really delve deep into building an OER program at MSU. And the work is not done by just me. I have really a good team that is working with me in our OER program. So I don't know if some of my team are here, but hopefully they are. We have Julie Taylor as our publishing services person. We have Josh Newman as our copy editor who does copy editing for our OER that we publish. We have an accessibility staff. Part of the OER team too is our accessibility coordinator librarian. And we also have student employees who work for us. And a lot of the times, what they do is to design cover images for our the OER that we publish. I also have a $50,000 annual fund for to support our OER authors in different levels of engaging with OER. So and we also are an institutional member of OEN, and most recently participated in the OpenStax Institutional Partnership Program. So as with all the other initiatives, OER initiatives in college campuses, we start with a goal, and foremost of which is reducing educational costs for our students. and supporting and encouraging our faculty in the creation of OER and providing that technical and infrastructure support to make them successful. And of course, not just the resources, but also a shift in mindset so that we leverage the affordances that OER can bring to us in terms of pedagogical practices. So the OER program is deeply embedded into the MSU Library strategic plan. So, I can see a lot of synergy in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and of course, student development and support, because OER is a student-focused initiative. And of course, also ties in with the larger MSU's mission, true to our land grant mission of providing access, equity, and opportunity for all by advancing knowledge and transforming lives. OER is an integral part of MSU's goal. And so, as I was thinking about assessment, right? So when we do assessment, we collect data. But this is really my, I want to frame it first by quoting our colleague Jeff Gallant of Affordable Learning Georgia. And this appears in the OER Starter Kit for Program Managers, edited by Abby Elder and a lot of our colleagues in the Open. I also have a chapter in there. Jeff reminds us that before we start collecting data, we need to figure out first why exactly we need the data and how we are going to use it once it's collected, right? And so in this chapter, really good, a way for you to start as you're thinking about data collection and assessment of your OER program. There's a lot of, and this is just an example for executive administration stakeholder, right? So there's critical questions that we need to interrogate, that we need to think about. And depending on the stakeholders that we are targeting, that data. So, start with why do we need the data and how are we going to use that when we collect it? So for a start, right? I'm sorry if this is a little fuzzy. I just got a screenshot from the Excel sheet that I maintain, but these are the things, one of the things that, I collect, right? So we need to have like a baseline of what are the courses that are using OER. Out of those courses, how many sections are using OER? And I tried to start that, the collection of this data from fall 2019 and up to spring, actually summer 2022. I have not finalized the fall 2022 adoption data yet, but gives us an idea of the courses and the instructors that are using OER, and also cost savings, right? We use the $100 metric, and as you see, we have realized more than 5 million also in savings. But as you know, right, OER is more than just textbook affordability, right? And so although that is one of the goals of any OER initiative, it should be more than that. And so, it advanced by itself. Okay, so in the OER student survey that we have formulated, we are asking, what are the student experiences with traditional required textbooks? And what are the students' experiences with OER? Does OER adoption improve student success? That is so hard to make a correlation, but that is one of the things that we want to find out. So study protocol, actually what we do is we send, so I partner with our director of assessment at the College of Natural Science. His name is Dr. Jason Almirigi, and he is also one of the members of the OER advisory committee. And so we administer it via Qualtrics. It's just a 12 question survey that our students can fill out in less than 5 minutes. So basically, we send that survey to all the students who are enrolled in courses that are using OER. So we signed that survey so that when the students receive it via email, it comes from me, Regina Gong. And also we designed, like, I forgot to do a screenshot. So we designed, what do you call that? A really nice graphics embedded in the email so that, to entice our students to take the survey. So as I mentioned, part of the survey, we want to find out what are their behaviors in terms of interacting with traditional textbooks. So cost and impact and purchase behavior. And also we want to gauge how they interact with OER materials that are being used in their classes. So we ask questions of quality, accuracy, and I'll share with you the questions that we are asking in the next slide. Okay, so this is like the screenshot of the survey that we've designed in Qualtrics. So one of the things that is important is we contextualize what the survey is about. And some of our students might not be aware of the term OER, right? And so, we define it for them. And I think it's in the next slide. Let me take a look. Yes, so it's there. So in the beginning of the survey, we tell them what are OERs and what are some of the characteristics of OER. And then we ask them if they are willing to help us by taking this survey. So, these are the questions that we ask. How often do you purchase the required textbooks for your course? And during a typical semester, how much do you spend for required textbooks? So what are the effects of the cost of textbooks or required course materials for you personally? And you'll see some of the answers here. And for your courses that uses traditional publisher textbook, how often do you use them? And then this one asks them, did you do any of the following with the open textbook that you're using? So this speaks to how they print, right? If at all they do. And then this is frequency in terms of using the OER. And then these are just like things that ask them about how this has impacted them. And this is kind of like a scenario question. How likely are you to register for a future course that uses open textbook, like the one that is being used in this in your course currently? And then this one is, if you have a choice between OER and traditional textbook, which would which class would you enroll in? And then this one's really important because it allows us to essentially hear what our students are saying. So some of the response, the folks who fill out the survey don't do this because this is not a required field, but for those students who do communicate to us, really very important in terms of how gauge their feelings and behaviors and impact with the OER course. So this is like the major analysis that we've started. So although the OER program was launched in fall 2019, we didn't start surveying our students until fall 2020 because it took time. So we've done initial analysis in fall and spring, and yeah, so we got really a good response during the first semester that we deployed, and subsequent semester that we employed that, we had about 500 or so students who took the survey per semester. And these are just some of the characteristics of the students who took the survey. Half of them were female. About 23% were first generation college students. Close to 25% were Pell eligible. And then we were able to drill it down to demographics and also year in college. For the fall 2020, a lot of our respondents were freshmen. So as you can see, it's close to 50%. So these are just some of the results of the survey when it comes to purchase behavior. Looks to me that they often purchase the required textbook. And we are able to dig deep too into, let's see here on the other side. So the folks who purchase the required textbook. So URM here in the chart refers to underrepresented minority. And then this is just, want to give you an idea of what fall 2021 semester results were in terms of the question, how often do you purchase the required textbook for your courses? And this one, let me put my glasses. This one, it says, a lot of them says often, right? And always. And if you look at the spring 2022 semester results, kind of like, most, the results are similar to the past semester. So they often purchase the required course materials. And also in the question about how much, right, do they typically spend in required textbooks? So let's see, a lot of them are between in the $101 to $200 dollar amount. And then this one is really interesting. So has the cost of textbooks or required course material cost any of the following? And this is for fall 2020 semester. Yeah, of course it annoys them, right? And stresses them out. And a lot of, subsequent semesters that I see the results, it's almost like this too. annoys them and stresses them out. And, just take a look at the fall 2021 semester result. Bears that out, right? So annoys and stresses them out. If you take a look at the spring 2022 semester results, it's about the same. And just want to give you some of the things that they say. So this is taken from that field I showed you, right? The last question where we asked them, if you can tell us anything more about how it has impacted you. And I'm not going to read this, but really speaks to, their feelings regarding the high textbook costs. We take a look at the chat and see. Oh, thank you, Rachel. Yes, I will upload, Kevin. I will upload that in Sched. I was just having some issues, but I will. Oh, Annie's here. Can you share more information on how you are tracking data? Okay, yes, I will. I'll answer that in a little bit. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. And also this is another feedback that one of our students have said, and I just bolded some of it. I think this is all too common, right? Maybe you've heard about this comment from your students as well. And okay, so this one shows cost impact. Has the cost of textbooks or required materials caused you to cut back, limit, make late payments, unnecessary living expenses, right? Whether that be food, housing, transportation. And we see that this has disproportionately impact students who are Pell eligible, underrepresented minority, first generation students. And we also have like an aggregated all students. It still is something of a barrier, because then they have to make a choice between the things that are necessary for them to live as college students and affording the high cost of learning materials. So these are some of the comments that we received, and as you can see there, we are able to dig deep into the demographics. So it really helped them, right? College is already expensive, and we hear this all too often, that students have to make that choice between buying food, groceries, or getting a textbook. And this is another. And I'll give you, chance to read, because after all, this presentation is about student voices. So I really want to put it front and center in this presentation. So now we are in that question where we ask about their printing behaviors, right? So we just didn't ask them, do you print? Yes or no? So we really want to hone in on how they do this. So did you pay to print the entire textbook? Because we have the ability for our students to print right? The textbook. Should they prefer a printed version of an OER? We are able to do that within the library through our publishing services. And of course, you know, that costs money. It's at cost, right? The cost of printing. Yep, you know, it's less than 10% who do that. And then 15% print out pages or chapters on their own. And a lot of them do a copy and paste of parts of the textbook and, you know, put it in a Word document as a study guide. And this is the result for the fall 2021 survey. And as you can see, they do a lot of copying and pasting. And you know, the same result was can be seen in the spring 2022 survey results. I'm looking at the time because I really want us to have enough time to have Q&A. So, and these are some of the quotes or the things that our students are saying with regards to printing. Yeah, so that's why we always have that option for our students to print, even if, you know, not many of them don't, because we do not want to not have that opportunity for those students who learn better when they have that printed material. So this is about OER quality, right? In the eyes of our students. So a lot of them said that the textbook presented the information accurately in an understandable way and supported their learning in their course that they are taking. And, you know, I really am so excited when I see this, and then I map to the question. You know, it's the most perfectly detailed textbook I have used yet in college. Oh my gosh, wow. So extremely comprehensible. And you know, if you are a visual learner and that OER provides a lot of visual you know, visual materials for you to aid in your learning, it's really is good. And yeah, so this one I also saw this. I think it was from our spring 2022 survey. I really appreciate our students' honesty. And again, this speaks to OER quality compared to the textbooks for your other courses. How would you rate the OER textbook? Majority of them say it's about the same as the other, you know, textbooks, or, you know, the publisher textbooks that they have that they are using in other courses. And this one is preference. If you had a choice of 2 sections, the same instructor, equally desirable time slot, which would you choose? So 60% of them say, of course, I'll choose the one that is using an OER. And these are also the voices of our students that speak to the, you know, the quality of the OER that they are using. So I think this is the part of our analysis where we mapped it based on Pell eligibility and non-eligibility. So, so as you can see, like remember in the previous slides that I showed you about the impact of textbook costs, you know, a lot of them says it annoys them and stresses them out. We just wanted to see if there's like a considerable difference between those who are Pell eligible and non Pell eligible. So this one speaks to textbook usage, and I think, you know, if you take a look at this, yeah, 2 to 3 times a week is, I think, you know, the frequency of textbook usage. So in here, 94.5% of students rated their OER textbook was about the same or better than traditional textbooks. And, you know, these are, again, the voices of our students that speak to that. So the things that they are able to do, right? They are able to print, to PDF any pages that they want. They can find a Control F to find, you know, the necessary sections in the OER. They can do annotation, right? There's a lot of interactive elements in the OER that we publish. So lots of H5P exercises, lots of you know, activities that are interactive and engaging for our students. Also multimedia, videos, audios. So not just like text. And yeah, I think I touched upon this. You know, if they had a choice between 2 sections and the likelihood of them registering for an OER course. So when we were analyzing the answers or the responses they provided us in the last question, these are the themes that, you know, we've found. So a lot of them talk about the cost, right? You know, the cost of textbooks and how it impacted them. But also a lot of the responses touched upon quality of the OER, whether it's well written, whether, you know, the concepts provide clarity to them, and, you know, whether the material has enough visuals and multimedia elements for them to learn better. And then also speaks about the utility, right? The presence of, again, interactivity, the ability to annotate, the ability to do, you know, find some keywords that they have, and, you know, be delivered to them instantaneously. And also the universal access, the ability to be able to access that particular OER in whatever device they prefer. So what have we learned? So, I mean, these are just the things that, you know, we've learned as we try to analyze their, you know, the survey responses and the things that they've told us. That cost is a barrier. And textbooks or traditional textbooks are increasingly not purchased. But of course, you know, it's different for courses that, you know, have inclusive access as its platform. Say, for example, you know, if it's McGraw-Hill Connect, or if it's Pearson, students don't have that agency to just like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna purchase it, because not doing so would adversely impact their, you know, success in that course. And, you know, that is a choice that our faculty has made. And I think a conversation has to be made as to, maybe there's a better way, right, for students. And also, we learned that our students are stressed out. And, we're not even talking about the effects of the last 3 years that we are, we have experienced the pandemic, and certainly the pandemic is not over yet. But, the things that the mental health struggles that our students have been experiencing the last 3 years is something that is a concern, not, for all of us. And as a result, our students are becoming sophisticated customers or consumers. They don't just purchase the textbook if they know they can get by without that. Right? We see that a lot in our seniors. So when I look at the survey, there's a lot of the responses from our seniors that they say, I wait until I absolutely am sure that I don't really need this textbook before I purchase it. I mean, to be successful in class, that's what I mean. And OER are, based on what they say, are equal to or better in quality. It's easier to access, have more functionality, and they find that they learn better. And they appreciate the effort with which their professors have put together to make the resource as streamlined as possible for them and as engaging. And I really like this comment from our students. They say, I like how my professors would point out that the textbook did have flaws rather than having us read it and not question anything. And one of the professors that I've worked with really makes that intentional for the student to interrogate, like, please tell me what is wrong with this resource, or how can I improve it so that it suits you better, so that you see yourself better in the material that I have created, and accepts that feedback from the student and to make it better. So what is next? There's a lot of things that I want to do, and this is just like, a start. So, maybe improve recruitment strategies and response rate for students. As of now, due to like bureaucratic thing, I am not able to offer like gift cards for our students to, like, that I can raffle to entice them more to fill out this survey. Hopefully we'll be able to iron that kink out, and assess the impact on student success metrics. So whether that be course grades, cumulative GPA, DFW, drop, fail, withdrawal, persistence, and all that. And certainly maybe time to graduation. I really want to know more how this impacts our underrepresented students. And APUE, so that is the Associate Provost for undergraduate education. So really work with them to integrate OER and its assessment into the student success measures at MSU. So student success at MSU is defined as increasing graduation rates. So from the 82% graduation rate that we have now at MSU, increase it to 86% in the next, I think, 5 years. So I'd like to do a focus group with faculty teaching OER courses. Really hone in on how we might work together to make the program better. And of course, more dissemination of student impact stories to stakeholders across campus. I am very fortunate because I have a strong and really committed student government who is working with me to champion and advocate and advance the OER initiative. So I have two student leader representative in our OER program advisory committee, and I value their inputs and perspective. So I think that's the end. I'll stop sharing now and I'll see what you have for me in terms of your questions. Yay, I have some time.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Regina. That was wonderful. The first question we have is from Annie. Can you share more information on how you are tracking data? We have had to rely on self-reporting, which is likely leading to underestimating the funds.
Yeah, so Annie, that really is a good question. So I am fortunate because I have access to the bookstore, right? So adoption data is not really maintained by our bookstore. So it really is under MSU's registrar's office. So I am able to access that portal where I can run reports, you know, when it comes to like, what are the course materials being used? And we still don't have that designation, like the standardized designation that, you know, yes, this material is really OER. And so there's a lot of digging out there that I use. So lots of Excel sheets that I download per semester and map it. Of course, OpenStax. If the course uses OpenStax, it's easy to identify. But you know, also there are courses that might not be identified as OER, but indeed it is, right? And so one thing that has really helped me when I started my work at MSU, a lot of R1 institutions, you know, it is so big, like MSU, it's hard to really have a definitive data as to how many are using OER. I started with the assumption that no one is using OER, and I built the data from there. And so, I mean, it's still not perfect, but it allows me to track courses that are using OER. So I do not track low cost. I do not track materials that are free. So I'm kind of purist in that way. So really just identify courses that are using OER. So a roundabout way of saying that the way in which I get the data is from our registrar's office. I run various reports and kind of map it so that I maintain this really ginormous Excel sheet that shows adoption per semester. Because
Yeah, no, we have a couple more questions in the chat. Two people are wondering if it's okay if they use some of your questions in OER student surveys at their own institutions.
Of course. And I will upload that. I actually licensed that. I'll upload the survey questions for you when I upload my presentation.
Thank you. That's awesome. Another question. Have you been able to compare sections of the same course that uses OER versus sections of that course that use traditional textbooks?
No, not yet.
Do you know how many students have computers or tablets at home to read open textbooks? Like, how are students accessing it? Did you explore that?
I don't know. Like, you know, I think a lot of our students have their own laptop, right? So yeah, be hard pressed to not have that device, right? You know, as a college student at MSU. But when I was still at LCC, at the time, when we were rolling out the OER program, we made an intentional effort to push purchase of laptops that we then loan out to our students, because we saw that that was a barrier. And so I think now we have about, LCC library has about like 700 laptops that are, being loaned out to students.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I think we have another time for another question or two. They're coming in fast. Here's another one. Can you share any advice on working with your student government group when the officers and levels of enthusiasm change from year to year?
Oh my gosh, yes. So that is a challenge. But one thing that I really found helpful is to ensure sustainability, right? So how do I do that? In fall 2020, I think if you've attended past presentations that I have with, student librarian partnership, fall 2020 was when our student government signed or passed a bill calling for undergraduate courses at MSU to use OER. So that was fall 2020, and at the time, the student leader who advanced that was a sophomore. And so now, Aaron, incidentally, I am doing a presentation with 3 of our student government, plug, during the Open Ed conference in October, in a few days. At the time, he was a sophomore. And so on his 3rd year, he ran and became the vice president for academic affairs, which is essentially the provost equivalent in the student government. And so we have been working since to ensure that we recruit, we retain, and we mentor student leaders within ASMSU who would follow their lead. And in fact, OER is one of the strategic initiatives of ASMSU now. So
thank you so much. And I know there were a couple other interesting questions or comments in the chat. So hopefully we can get the conversation going another time. But unfortunately, we have to end this conversation to turn it over to the next session. So we'll look forward to seeing a lot of you in more sessions throughout the afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, send me an email if you have questions. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.